Good morning, it's March 21st. This is To My Liberal Friends. I'm having a hard time trying to understand what the Democratic Party stands for at this moment in time. Trump seems to have them completely off balance. They're reacting to him as opposed to putting out their own message. As a Republican, I'm happy to see them floundering, but at the same time, I wonder what they're thinking as they seem to be taking stands on issues that are counter to what the public wants. If you look at current polling, Donald Trump is just underwater with 48% approval of what he's doing. Now, Democrats might see this as a crack in the dam and cheer this on, but it's pretty typical of any president, and someone as controversial as Trump, that number is surprisingly high in my opinion. I should point out that his disapproval reading sits at 49%, so he's basically breaking even on this scale. But if you look further into the polling, we find there are some issues that Democrats are willing to fall on their sword over, and this is what's so baffling since the public is behind Trump on these issues. First and foremost is the immigration issue. Over 66% of Americans support deporting immigrants who are in the country illegally. Breaking down those numbers, 93% of Republicans support this policy, while only 43% of Democrats are in support. But that number of Democrats is surprisingly high based on Democratic politicians attacking Trump for deporting illegal immigrants. But the number the Democrats should be paying attention to is that 67% of independents are in support of these deportations. And that's what sustains the overall number of 67%. Second is Trump's campaign promise to cut the size of government. He created the Department of Government Efficiency, commonly known as DOGE. When polled, it showed that 59% of the public favored shrinking the government. Voters and the general public believe that the federal government's too big and too bloated. They believe there is significant waste and abuse in the government. When asked, 59% were in favor of cutting down the size of government. The polling data shows that the public's not happy with the way DOGE is going about the task of cutting down government, but they remain in favor of the idea, and Democrats need to understand that better. Third was the promise to protect female athletes. Once again, the Democrats are standing against any effort to block biological males from competing against women. In a recent poll, 79% of the respondents said that biological males should not be competing in women's sports. And that number's increased from last year when the number was 63%. Even a strong majority of Democrats, 67%, share this opinion. These are just three of the issues that Democrats decided to fight Trump on, and they're wondering why their numbers are evaporating right before their eyes. The CNN and New York Times polls both showed the number of people now identifying as Democrats is below 30%. Are they not listening to the people? I think they are, but they're listening to the wrong group of people. Mark Penn, a prominent Democratic pollster and strategist, has been writing that the Democrats have become a party of white elites and black voters. These are the urban voters that send most Democrats to Congress, so they're loath to ignore them, but it puts them behind the eight ball with the majority of Americans on key issues. This highlights the problem facing the Democratic Party. The American public overall is becoming more conservative, and that goes for young people as well, a block of voters that Democrats need to be able to have to win. While the voting public becomes more conservative, the left wing of the Democratic Party, those urban voters, continue to push the party further to the left. And this is bad news for Democrats. They're still worse. A Gallup poll also found that liberals are still among the smallest ideological group, 25% of the public versus 37% conservative and 34% moderates, even as Democrats become decidedly more liberal. In 2024, Gallup found that liberals comprise 55% of the party, an all-time high for Democrats. The real problem for the Democrats is they have no message. They have no real leader, and when you lack those two things, you're playing defense all the time. Over the years, when this happens, Democrats resort to scaring people by claiming Republicans are going to take away their Social Security and Medicare. They ignore that both of these programs are rife with abuse and outright fraud. They know that Americans are supporting of cutting waste and abuse and fraud, but not when it affects them individually. If Democrats are ever going to come out of the wilderness, they will have to realize the far-left policies they're promoting today are not connecting with most Americans. They may be popular in the urban districts they represent, but on a national level, they're totally out of touch. If they continue to push these policies, they will find themselves mired in the minority for a lot longer than they think. At the same time, I would caution Republicans they need to stick to the message, be united, and deliver on the promise they've made. When it comes to voting in Congress, they need to stay together so that they have the votes to pass the legislation they're promising. They need to secure the border, reduce government spending, and stop the woke social programs that the left supports. If Republicans do that, they'll continue to win elections and they'll continue to be in the majority. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.